Akshay, hi. You're unmuted now.
Hey,
She, please go ahead with the introduction, please.
hey, what's up? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Awesome. Hey guys, hi, what's up? I have to figure out if you guys are there.
So we have muted all the participants upon entry, and we'll start unmuting people as people start asking questions or raise hands.
Sure.
Hi Akshay, this is
Hey,
Ayushi.
hi, what's up? Good
How
to
are
see
you?
finally.
I'm good. It's just a minute.
Sure.
I hope I'm visible now.
Yes, you are. Am I visible?
Yes, you're visible. And
Awesome.
how are you today? How's your day been going in the quarantine?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. It's the same day every day. I think we've only just started looking more inward. So it's become more stressful and more work for us.
Yeah. So we'll just wait for a couple more minutes and then we'll
Sure.
start because people are just coming in.
Cool. Can people see the screen?
Yeah, people should be able to see the screen. Guys, if you're not able to see the screen, could you please write it in the chat box? And I think our co-host today, Aman, should be able to answer in regular things.
Cool. Ayushi, can you give me the right to share my screen?
Yeah, just a minute. I will do that.
For those who are early or / on time, Indian Standard Time,
Yeah.
can probably
Yeah.
play something.
Just a minute. And
Thanks, Kush. What's up, guys? You are unique. Okay, just trying to. I think we'll just wait for a few more minutes. And I'm unable to share my screen, guys.
I'm not.
Perfect. Yeah, I think for those who are waiting, okay, so those who are waiting, why don't I kind of just play out and a video we did perhaps in our previous office about 1.5 years back. I think this should be interesting for some of you to see. Let's make it fun as much as we can. It's a Sunday evening.
Yeah.
अपने मोबाइल पे इस घंटे के आइकॉन को दबाओ और ODF की वीडियोस की सारी नोटिफिकेशंस पाओ। फटाफट दबा दो यार। ओके ब्रो, ओके।
Are you really Russian? You look a little desi.
हाँ दिल्ली से हूँ बैंक।
अरे हाँ तू टेंशन मत ले।
This is an old office.
हाँ मैं टाइम से पहले पहुंच जाऊंगा मैच के लिए। अच्छा बात बता, तूने संजू और रिचर्ड से बात करी है ना? मतलब वो भी टाइम पे आ रहे हैं ना मैच के लिए? क्या? अबे वो नहीं आ रहे। अबे उनका बॉस ना चूतिया एक नंबर का। चूतिया नहीं, क्या बोलूं, मतलब स्मार्ट ही है। चूतिया तो मेरा बॉस है यार। उसको तो कोई भी बहाना चिपका दो वो आसानी से मान जाता है। हाँ अबे मैंने कितनी बार अपने बुड्ढे ताऊजी की तबीयत खराब करवाई है और हजारों बार तो अपने वो इमेजिनरी कुत्ते को बेड के पास लेकर गया हूँ। बहुत भोला है बेचारा। ऐसे भोला नहीं, चूतिया है चूतिया। गुड इवनिंग सर।
गुड इवनिंग।
वो मैं अपने कुत्ते से दोस्त से बात कर रहा था। हाँ, वो कुत्ता है, वो बुढ़ा है, उसको ना सभी भी हॉस्पिटल लेके जाना है। प्लीज डोंट फायर मी सर, आई एम रियली सॉरी।
तुझे मैच देखने जाना है ना, तो जा। इतने बहाने क्यों मार रहा है? तुझे क्या लगता है मुझे पता नहीं कि ऑफिस में कितने लोग मुझसे झूठ बोलते हो? अरे बॉस हो तुम्हारा, जिस शॉवर के नीचे तुम नहाते हो ना, उसकी टंकी हमने अपने एक्सपीरियंस के मूड से भरी है। ऊपर क्या देख रहा है? एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूँ। और सुन, आज के मैच की स्क्रीनिंग हमने अपने ऑफिस में रखी है। बियर ऑन द हाउस। अपने दोस्तों को भी बुला लेना, ठीक है?
आई एम सॉरी, मैं आपको चूतिया, आई मीन यू आर ग्रेट सर।
बस इतना याद रखना, जिस शॉवर के नीचे तुम रोज नहाते हो ना,
उसकी टंकी आपने अपने मुंह से भरी।
पीपीटी बनाने की कोई जरूरत नहीं, नोट्स में आइडिया समझा दो यार।
नेहा, ये ले कॉन्फ्रेंस रूम की चाबी। मुझे पता है तेरे घर में प्राइवेसी नहीं है, तो 7 बजे के बाद कभी भी यू कैन कॉल योर बॉयफ्रेंड एंड यू नो व्हाट आई मीन, राइट? गाइस, इस बार मेरे बर्थडे पे छुट्टी।
इस साल आंख बंद करके सबको अप्रेजल दूंगा। आई लव यू ऑल।
अच्छा यार 7:30 हो रहे हैं, अगर लेट हो जाए तो बिल्कुल टेंशन मत लेना। वी हैव अरेंज्ड फॉर अ कंपनी कैब एंड द ड्राइवर इज आल्सो फीमेल, सो कंप्लीटली सेफ, जस्ट चिल, ओके। और गाइस इस बार मेरी गर्लफ्रेंड के बर्थडे पे भी छुट्टी।
यो, आज मेरे घर में पार्टी है, तुम सब तैयार है ना? तुम सबके घर में गाड़ी पहुंच जाएगी, और अगर दारू ज्यादा हो जाए तो तुम सब मेरे घर में सो सकते हो। तुम सब के लिए जगह है, मेरे घर में भी और मेरे दिल में भी। तुम लोगों के लिए एक अच्छी खबर है, कल से नो ओवर टाइम गाइस।
ये लो क्वेश्चन, इससे नेक पे स्ट्रेन नहीं पड़ेगा, ठीक है? आप सो जाओ।
तुम सबकी टेबल पे नेटफ्लिक्स का यूजर आईडी और पासवर्ड पहुंच गया है। जब कभी मन करे 2-4 फिल्में देख लेना, शर्माना बिल्कुल मत। मुझे पता है कि तुम नेहा को बहुत पसंद करते हो और ये भी तुम्हें बहुत पसंद करती है। तुम कंपनी की पॉलिसी की चिंता बिल्कुल मत करो, मैं सब संभाल लूंगा। आई वोंट फायर यू। हमने अपने वीकली टारगेट्स 4 दिन में ही पूरे कर लिए हैं, सो बाकी 3 दिन की छुट्टी। चिल चिल चिल। इस बार वैलेंटाइन डे पे सबको बोनस। डोंट वरी यार, ऑफिस में लेट आने पे कुछ नहीं बोलूंगा।
ऑफिस में वेलापंती करनी इज कंप्लीटली अलाउड।
चिंता मत कर यार, घर जल्दी जाने पे भी मैं कुछ नहीं बोलूंगा। मेरी बिचिंग करना इज अलाउड, लगे रहो।
गाइस मैं आईपीएल की टिकट्स बुक कर रहा था, तुम में से कोई चलेगा?
हैंगओवर में ऑफिस आने की जरूरत नहीं है यार, चिल मारो। अगर आपको भी चाहिए मेरे जैसा बॉस तो ये तो हो नहीं सकता, लेकिन आप एक काम तो कर सकते हैं, इस वीडियो को लाइक कीजिए, कमेंट कीजिए और शेयर कीजिए।
और आप ओडीएफ को फॉलो कर सकते हैं फेसबुक, इंस्टाग्राम और ट्विटर पे।
और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात, आप लोग ओडीएफ को सब्सक्राइब कर सकते हैं, वहां नीचे लाल बटन है उसको दबाइए, और घंटे का बटन दबाना मत भूलना, उससे आपको ओडीएफ की सारी नोटिफिकेशंस मिलती रहेंगी।
हाँ हाँ, मैं टाइम से पहले पहुंच जाऊंगा, मैच से पहले। हाँ जी।
तुम कंपनी की पॉलिसी की चिंता बिल्कुल मत करो। सॉरी, तुम क्यों? तुम कंपनी की पॉलिसी की चिंता बिल्कुल मत करो, मैं सब संभाल लूंगा। आई वोंट फायर यू।
अच्छा गाइस 7:30 हो गए हैं, अगर लेट हो रहा हो तो टेंशन नहीं लेने का। अच्छा यार 7:30 हो गए हैं, थोड़ा लेट हो जाएगा। गाइस इस बार क्रिसमस में क्रिसमस पे रोलिंग में मूव कर दिया। गाइस इस बार मेरी गर्लफ्रेंड के और गाइस इस बार मेरी गर्लफ्रेंड बर्थडे पे मातम मनाएंगे।
आज मेरे घर पे पार्टी है, सो तुम्हारे घर पे सबके घर नहीं। और अगर दारू ज्यादा हो जाए तो तुम मेरे घर पे सो सकते हो, मेरे घर में जगह है, मेरे दिल में भी और मेरे घर में भी।
I'm going to the मैंने एक्शन सुना। I'm going to the investors guys। एक मिनट तेज बोल देता हूँ, तुम सबको डबलिंग। और आप
वोट मांग रहे हैं, ऐसा लग रहा है।
Anyway, so yeah.
So
I hope you have enough people here.
yes, I think we should be starting
Awesome.
now. So
Awesome. We'll begin.
yeah. Yes.
So I think,
guys, yeah.
Yes, over to you, Ayushi. Happy to kind
Perfect.
of begin the first 30 minutes of it
Okay. So
by just you
hello.
asking me questions and I can share more of the journey. Yes.
Yep. Yep. So guys, welcome to this webinar for the ISB class of 2021. We have here an alum, Akshay Chaturvedi, and this is Ayushi Grover. I'm your classmate for the class of 2021, and my co-host today is...
Hi guys, this is Aman. I am the co-host for today. First of all, I would like to thank Akshay for taking time out of his busy schedule to have a chat with us, the class of 2021. And talking about Akshay, he is the founder and CEO of Leverage Edu. For those of who you may not know, Leverage Edu is an edtech startup. And so Akshay is an ISB alumnus from the class of 2015. And he was included in the Forbes 30 under 30 India and then 30 under 30 Asia lists. And being one of the brightest young stars from India, he was also featured in the Prime Minister's Champions of Change. So I would like Ayushi to continue from here as she begins a question answer sort of our thing with Akshay.
Perfect. So thank you, Aman, and thank you, Akshay, once again. I hope
Thank
people
you.
are able to see my screen. I hope.
Yeah, we can.
Great.
Please go ahead.
Perfect. So, guys, what we have planned here is we are trying to discover Akshay's journey from ISB and how he's actually achieved all this. Now, but the first thing I would like to ask you, Akshay, why did you plan to pursue an MBA, and how did you decide that ISB was the right school for you?
No, sure. Actually, first of all, thanks for everybody who's taking out time for joining us on a Sunday. It's much better to kind of switch on Netflix and catch another of the many exciting series that are out there. So, of course, resisting that temptation and being here, thank you so much. Okay, let me begin my answering questions, Ayushi. I always badly wanted to be in the internet space, and I was not an engineer. So back in the day, about 7 years, 8 years back, it was really difficult to be in the internet space if you were not an engineer. My goal, from as far as I can imagine, always was to be a product manager in some way and to build products, but I was not an engineer again. So my journey started in 2006, 2007 with this place called, what's it called? Where we essentially used to run startup seminars back in American Center in Delhi. I'm from Delhi. That's where I live right now as well. And back when I was perhaps in my class 12 or in my first year of college, I used to organize all these seminars where back then the rock stars, still the rock stars, Deep Kalra sir from Make My Trips and G. Bikhchandani ji and all of these used to come in, address people, address aspiring entrepreneurs. And my job was as simple as making sure that the audience was full, like right now, and making sure that everybody claps at the end of the entire thing. And I would get my 200 rupees by doing that. So started my journey by doing that, being on the ring seat of a lot of startup events. Saw VC funds come in India. This is when Sequoia was still Westbridge, for those of you who follow the startup ecosystem. And did a bunch of things there, and then tried to start a company when I was an undergrad, tried to start a company again when I just finished college. Once in e-commerce, once in events. And then finally, I think I realized that I want to work in an internet company, and the only way to do it was to get an MBA. So I think that was the initial thought. I was working in the finance/consulting space with one of the big fours. Loved my job, loved what it, loved the fact that it was so boring. Loved the fact that it made me kind of befriend a lot of people in my life very early on. Love the fact in hindsight now that I taught a lot of basics that I see are missing if you don't have the right foundation sweep in your career very early on. And I think that's from where I started. Applied to a bunch of business schools. Always had this dream to get to ISB. Dream started from 2005. I'm not sure many of you would have known ISB in 2005. I hope some of you do. But this is when George Bush, 2005 or 6, George Bush came to India. And out of the 2 days that he had in India, he ended up visiting ISB. And I was in class 8th or 9th or 10th back then. And I remember one of my cousins said that, hey, you know what do you want to do in life? And I said, MBA kar lunga. And because that was the easiest question to answer, right? Everybody would say an MBA in India. And I think that's not changed a lot. And he said that, "Arey MBA karna hai na, ISB se kariye." And I was like, okay, what is ISB? And then 2006 was also a red letter year for ISB because we used to have it on breaking news every single day, talking about somebody who got a 1 crore offer, somebody who got a 50 lakh offer, and all of those things. So I think 2008, 10, for those of you who know the history of ISB, we made it to the top 20 of the FT schools list. So I think that's when I essentially fell in love with the school and I realized that this is where I want to be at. And when I got through ISB, I think perhaps definitely one of the happiest days of my life. And what followed was absolutely a magical year. So more on that later, of course.
Great. So the next question just leads to where you ended. How did the experience shape you into the person that you've become? How did it lead you onto the right path?
Very interesting question. Very broad though. But I think the biggest thing that an MBA does to you, and more specifically ISB, is that it helps you build your thought process in a very structured fashion, and that's the biggest takeaway that you will walk away with post ISB. The fact that you can take a problem, break it into multiple pieces, solve it in a structured fashion. That is one. Second is, of course, you will build a network like no other. While today it might seem like, hey, I have these classmates, I have these peers with different interest areas, with doing different things. But sooner than later, you'll realize that every single person who is on this call, every single person who is there in the school with you this year, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years on the line, everybody will be a superstar in some way in their life. And that will be a very useful network for you to carry on. So there are two things that you can do in that scenario. One is you can either, and I'm going to kind of spill some blunt truths, which will make some people hate me for sure. You can do two things. You can either stick to yourself, get all A's, and get the best job on campus and things like that. Or you could essentially make a lot of friends, enjoy the year, do as much as you can. I'm very sure very soon you guys will get to be on the campus. And make sure once you graduate, you have those 500 numbers on your phone book and a bunch of them on speed dial. What that will ensure is whatever you might need in life, whether it's a next job, whether it's a door that you need to open if you're doing business development, whether it is something that you need to understand to be able to do a better job in what you're doing. In any possible way, it is gonna open as many doors as possible for you, whatever you might be doing. So I think what we often do when we begin this year is we underestimate the fact that we're surrounded by superstars. That is one thing that you want to walk away with from this call, is that make as many friends as possible in this 1 year, and that is going to really, really help you in the coming times, in the coming 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatnot. In my case, while I got my first job on campus, my second job came by an alum. After that, I started my company, Leverage. We'll talk more about it in a bit. And among the many people I reached out to for the first round of funding that Leverage did, about 8 were from the ISB network. 5 of them being seniors, people who I had known, alumni, and 3 of them being professors. A couple of them who are still at campus, and I share a great relationship with, great rapport with. So I think all of those things really helped me get the right start, and over time it also helped me recruit early people, because nobody wants to come and work with a very young company which can hardly pay you market salary, which can hardly take care of the basics. So like in the video, that video was shot when we were like 10 people. This office was in front of a theka somewhere in Connaught Place in CP Delhi. And very few people essentially come and work for you at that point of time. You had to sell I had to sell the ISB brand. I had to sell the fact that, these are the early people who are coming in and working with the company. And I think once you pick up from there, a lot of things follow. So yeah, it's a very large answer. It's a very broad question. Probably I'll speak more about it as we move forward.
Okay. So going in line with ISB, a lot of people that we've interacted with, a lot of the alums and even the current passing batch, they tend to get our priorities straight. Now, how does one go about figuring out their priorities? I mean, just as an advice to us, how did you figure out your priorities and how can we do the same?
Sure, yeah. So to be honest, I did not think as much. I probably did not think as deep even then. In my first 15 days, I remember the first thing that happens when you start ISB, I don't know if you guys are there yet or not. Have classes started to happen online?
There are some classes, but they're not the official term 1. We're getting a trailer of sorts.
Got it. So term 1 is when they give you a stats quiz, and it's a 5-mark quiz, which is not going to matter at all in where you land up in life. And I saw that was the first test that happens at ISB. And I remember that for a 5-mark quiz, people completely end up fucking their lives like to the last possible second. And I could see the atrium, which is like the central hall in Hyderabad, completely full of students, library full, people going all out and studying nights after nights after nights, one Red Bull after another, for all of 5 marks. And I think when I saw that, I was like, fuck, this is definitely not what I want to do. And I think I could. What happened after that was very funny, because a lot of people who had studied more than me ended up getting less marks, largely because I had not studied, and I actually it was a MCQ. So I actually knew only 2 questions and I did not know the other 3. So I just did A. And it turned out that 2 of those 3 cases were correct. So I've been very lucky in life, as you would realize. I think that was the cue. From there, I said that, hey, there's so much happening at ISB. There's so many clubs being formed. And then in the next week, we heard of the GSB elections, which is a student board. And one of the most tightly contested posts that year was for MCC, which is the Marketing Communication Council, which is the post that gives you access to alumni from previous years, to the media out there, to admissions at ISB, and to essentially a lot more things, to essentially also connecting with as many students as you can. So I realized that this is what I want to do, and I spent the next 2 to 3 weeks of my year at ISB just contesting those elections. Right before ISB, I had, between my exit from EY, where I used to work, and before I started ISB, I worked with a political party. This is 2013-14, when youth in our country started to become more aware of what politics is. And that's when I spent 6 to 7 months with one of the political parties, and that gave me a great experience in terms of what to do and what not to do. And in those 2 or 3 weeks at ISB, when I was fighting this election, I ended up doing door-to-door campaigning. I ended up cajoling classmates. I ended up getting people from different sections to lead that campaign for me in their own sections. And I think that really set the ball moving for me, at least, in everything that followed in the year. Tightly contested election, of course, I won. And post that, given that I was part of GSB, that meant I was always doing so many things with the school, for the school. And that pretty much set my priorities. That said, I think, of course, it's important to realize what you've come to ISB for. My funda was very clear that I want to be in the internet space. My acads will not matter as much as my overall understanding of the internet space would. I 100% knew that nobody on the campus, across both the campuses, Hyderabad and Mohali, would know as much as I would about the internet space. So I would really spend my 2.5 hours on Economic Times and reading books like Hooked and whatnot during those days, and make sure that I'm the best at my craft and for the jobs I want to kind of strike through at the end of the year. And that's what happened. I think me and my friends, I used to run this group called, so term 2 onwards, there's this beautiful course which comes across called DMOP, Decision Modeling and Optimization, if I'm remembering correctly. And I think when that course came in, I founded this group much before I founded Leverage. I founded this group called B-Anonymous. And B-Anonymous meant everybody who was getting B-. It's not possible to, if you if you can just land up in the class and just be there, it's not possible to get less than B- in ISB. And with the B- you can pass. So I founded this group called B-Anonymous, and we had some 97 members on a WhatsApp group back then. And I think that was the start of a lot of things that followed passing that year. And I think most of my friends in that B- group, who became my core group later on, who are my friends till now, all of them ended up getting great jobs. Some of the first few jobs that came on campus, expensive jobs, if that matters right now. And also they're doing very well in life today. So I think it all depends on what you want to do in life. If you want to have a consult, of course, go on and make sure you do your case studies right from term 2 onward. Make sure you get your acads correct. Make sure there is no way you let that go. But largely, if you're not looking at doing a consult, if you're not looking to go to VCs have also started to come on campus, then there is no point in being, and that's what I think ISB gets wrong. A lot of people at ISB get wrong. Either you can be a 3.7 plus, or you should not care, or you should be a 2.8, 2.93. Your acads do not matter if you are not on the top. Of course, I think term 1, beginning, April, everybody wants to be in a 3.7 plus, but as is the law of averages, not everybody can. So people keep slipping off further and further every 15 days. By term 3, people have realized what side of the curve they fall on. And I think what a lot of people realized back then is that, hey, let me enjoy ISB, let me do all the other things that ISB can give me. There are a bunch of opportunities out there at ISB. There are internships that you can do. There's a network that you can make in both Hyderabad and Mohali. There are people across the country who will listen to you just because you're a student in ISB right now. And they might not before or after. And there's just so many things to do on campus itself. So many festivals that happen. So much access that you get with the best industrialists, not just in India, across the world. So you can do all of those things and say that, hey, this is a priority area for me. And this is how I will go forward in my life. So of course, not one particular area will not suit everybody. One particular journey will not suit everybody. It's important to kind of realize what you want and have that straight. As early as you have it, the more you can make out of ISB.
Okay. Now, since Akshay,
Yes.
you said that you did sit for placements. I mean, you already had that entrepreneurial idea in your mind. So why placements? Why go through that rigor of placements? And was it just for a backup? And how was the experience for you?
An entrepreneurship project back in ISB, you have this thing called PAEV, Planning and Entrepreneurial Venture. That's what I took. And Leverage in its early days was a mentorship marketplace. My background is where I got really lucky when I had the right people come into my life and tell me what to do next, what not to do next. And I really believe that I was more of an extrovert. I could go out, write those 100 LinkedIn in mails, and then wait for that one person to come in and guide me and come in and tell me that, hey, you know what, you should go and apply to the job. You know what, you should go and speak to this person. I really believe from very early on that if I can extrapolate, if I can take this mentorship marketplace structure to millions of people, if everybody has a right mentor in their life, magic can happen, like absolute magic can happen. And because it had happened to me, and every single time my life is transformed, the entire family's life is transformed, the family levels up. And using that as a structure, using that as a mental model, Leverage began as a project. And then I remember I reached out to one of the first few professors I reached out to was Anindya Ghosh, who still comes and teaches at ISB. A very good friend of mine now. He's also one of the first few angel investors. I went to Professor Bhagwan Chaudhary, who's a finance professor. I went to Professor David Bell, who is this professor who comes from Wharton and is an LP in multiple VCs now. And I told them about this idea, and they liked it, and they said, hey, you know what, there has to be tangibility around it. And that's what I did. I tried to kind of work more on this. Shared it with Aman, who's now my co-founder, who leads tech at Leverage back then. Shared it with Digvijay, one of my best friends at ISB, and who later went on to be at Matrix Partners, and then at McKinsey for the last 5 years. And then recently, about 4 months back, came in at Leverage and joined us as Chief Operating Officer, and is now building the company together. So I'm giving you the larger answer, but very honestly, it was a function of middle class background. पैसे नहीं थे, पैसे इकट्ठे करने थे, and had to have some savings in my bank for about 6 months. Only then could I begin a business, and that's what I eventually did. I worked in Snapdeal for about 7 to 8 months. Great experience. Got that Snapdeal job because I had reached out to Kunal Bahl because I had got this offer from a fellowship in Silicon Valley to which I went, where Leverage was incubated in 2015, right post ISB. And I was figuring out where to get my flight tickets, where to get my accommodation, all of those things from. Accommodation came from TiE Hyderabad, which works very closely with the entrepreneurship cell at the school. And my flight tickets came from Kunal Bahl at Snapdeal. And I think that's how it was very useful for me to land up a job in Snapdeal. So post I came back from the US, I worked in Snapdeal, then I worked at a company called BabaJob, where one of our alums, who I had shadowed as part of Shadow and Alum, again, very dear brother man now, a lot of respect, Rishi from class of 10. He gave me the job, and I ended up working at babajob.com for the next 1.5 years. And I think that 1 year in my life was kind of very life changing. I said that, hey, you know what? I know how to run a company now. I've been running this 100 people ship largely as part of the executive team, as part of one of the CXOs. And I can take that risk. I have 6 to 7 months of cash in the bank. I was dating somebody back then. My girlfriend then turned out to be my wife. And I told her that, hey, you know what, like if the savings gets over in 6 months, then I'll finish the dhanda and I'll come back and do a job, do a good job, like all good boys at ISB do. And if not, I'll kind of just continue this and continue the hustle and continue the struggle. And yeah, got lucky again. Got a lot of people to believe in me. We pivoted a lot. We started focusing on university admissions in the first 3 to 6 months. I think that realization came through that we want to focus on one category at Leverage. And ever since then, I think we haven't looked back. Still a very young company, 3.5 years old. But now 80 plus people across 5 cities. And I think we're just getting started. But yeah, larger. But the answer is it was a function of paise nahi the, and wanted to have some money in the bank before I started the company, because I had to put that cash in the company to begin.
Awesome, awesome. So thank you for answering that, Akshay. It clears a lot of doubts that we had. Now, one of the biggest peaks that I personally feel in your career was getting recognized by Draper and then going on to Draper University. So how did that happen? And it was such a unique thing. Only 25 people across the globe. How did you manage that?
Okay, interesting. Again, because of ISB in some way. So 2013, have to share the story in a closed group, given all of you are fellow ISB alums. 2013, I really wanted to, of course, like I told you, I wanted to be in the internet space, and I used to read Silicon Valley stories from as early as you can imagine, from 2001, 2002, and figure out, hey, you know, how did the dot-com burst happen, and how are micro chips built, how are semiconductors built. So I was always in love with Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley translates to Stanford. So when I was much younger, I wanted to apply to Stanford. I never applied though, and in 2012 is when I wrote to a bunch of Stanford alums and said, hey, you know what, I'm looking to apply to Stanford because I really want to be an entrepreneur in the longer run. I want to build products, and can you help me? Wrote to a bunch of people. Bunch of people replied. One of the generous people who had replied turned out to be a mentor, and later on, and I kept writing letters to her. I kept kind of following up with her. She was a partner at a very big venture capital firm in Silicon Valley. And in the beginning, she was not very keen on being able to give me time. And then I told her, hey, you know what, can I just take 5 minutes of yours every single month? She said, yeah, why not? And that's what happened. So every 15th of the month, I started writing emails to her, telling her, hey, you know what, that's what's happening in life. That's why I'm racing towards my dreams. This is what is not working. And over time, I kind of developed a very nice relationship out there. And fast forward to 2014 August, this is when there's this course in ISB called MGTO, which is largely around organizational behavior, and they talk about leadership. They talk about all the soft skills that are important as you become a leader. And there was this case study on the same lady, and her name is Heidi Roizen. And I was like, I've known her for the last 2 years, and there's this Viva happening, and as you will realize very soon, that ISB peers kind of try to kill each other for getting more marks on the Viva and getting more marks for just raising their hand out and saying that, hey, you know what, I know the answer. So Professor Lewis, I think. So I think he was asking us, hey, you know what, do you know anything else? And I raised my hand. I said, hey, you know what, like this is this. And he said, hey, you know what, like this is not covered in the case. So how do you know this? I said, you know what, like I know her. And that's when I wrote back to Heidi and I said, hey, I had no idea that there was a Harvard Business School case study on you, and you're like such a big deal. I had reached out randomly to you 2.5 years back in my life. Yeah, that is what it is. And I think that couple of months later, when I started Leverage, and she said, hey, you know what, you've always wanted to be in Silicon Valley. You've been telling me about that for the last 1.5 years. There's this fellowship that has begun here called Draper U. Why don't you apply to it? and that's what I did. And yeah, and I think I just got lucky, and that's how Draper.U happened. Back in the day, it was a very small subset. Now I think they have made it bigger and bigger. In fact, we have just taken the India rights to run their online classes. We are running their online classes now. It's a 12-day program, and some of you want to kind of check it out as you're free these days. Happy to share that link after the talk. And yeah, I think those I packed up my bags, directly landed up in SF from Hyderabad, and the next 3-4 months were like really cool. Learned a lot. Met important people like Elon Musk. Met a lot of people who I still am in touch with, and I think that just reinforced that ability to dream. And I think sometimes in the rug of the MBA, we focus too much on the hard stuff, and of course it is important. I wouldn't have been able to do even zilch in the first 6 months if my finance fundamentals wouldn't be clear, if I wouldn't know how to make a financial model, if I wouldn't know how to break down problems into neat structures and then solve them. But I think we sometimes don't value the softer parts of it, how you build relationships, how you keep in touch with people, how you, something as simple as make use of access to people, access to information that you have during the 1 year that you're there. And I think those who realize that can really get one leg up, and that really helps you if you want to do something which is bigger than what you would have imagined further down in your life.
Awesome. So, Akshay,
Sure.
now that we've understood about Draper University, I think we understand that your passion in life is entrepreneurship, and you kind of poured all of that into leverage. So how did the idea go from just an idea in your head to this massive startup, which is recognized everywhere?
So it feels great that you say massive startup. I think we're still very early. We're still a much smaller company as compared to the peers that we see around. We're not at the moment. No, I think what helped in the very beginning was getting people on board who believed in the ISB vision as well, getting people on board as angel investors, getting people on board as the first few employees. That was very helpful. And then I think what it does is it helps you figure out solutions to any problems that you might have. Let me kind of take a step back and zoom into a couple of stories. So remember, when I was in the US, I did something as simple as once you graduate, you have access to this alumni email thread, email inbox. I haven't visited that for the last 3 years now, but I used to be very active on that just after graduating. And I just wrote a simple email saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to be in the US, would love to meet some ISB alums. And the outpouring of love I saw from people who had no idea who I am, who made me stay in their houses, made dal chawal for me, gave me access to their networks, gave me access to, some of them gave me access to their capital in the future. I think that was completely mind-boggling. And I think if I look forward in the ISB journey, a lot of those moments in terms of the academics, I think we often underestimate the fact that academics play a big role as well. A lot of those academic subjects really helped me do something as simple as content marketing to attract the first set of users, write a lot of blogs, answer questions on Quora, write a lot of Facebook posts, be out there and tweet a lot. And that would attract a lot of people to say that, hey, you know what, this is some yarn that is being outpoured. Let me follow this guy. Let me figure out what these guys are doing. And the first few customers eventually came in from word of mouth. As we went out and about, I think what was life-changing in the leverage journey then after the first, I think 1.5 years was getting access to a bunch of venture capitalists who I reached out to. I remember I would have pitched to easily 20-25 VCs. Out of them, 5 said yes, and we had 5 term sheets, and then ended up choosing to work with 2 VCs who I really had a lot of respect for. And ever since then, we have raised 2 rounds of capital from them. We have raised 3 rounds of capital in total, and I think that's been really helpful. But the same structure has kind of stayed handy with me of learning as much as you can from as many people as possible, from books, from podcasts, from people, from others who have done this already, and largely by doing. And I think that's been pretty helpful. Yeah.
Okay, understood. So now that we kind of understand your journey, I have a short Karan Johar style rapid fire section. And now I would like to ask you 10 questions and you just have to answer them really fast. So the first question is finance or marketing?
Marketing, of course, any day.
Okay. Networking or academics?
That's it. Networking.
Indian startup culture or Silicon Valley startup culture?
Indian startup culture any day. Koramangala, Gurgaon, Jai Ho.
Oh, well. Cheese or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Waking up at 5 in the morning or sleeping at 5 in the morning?
I sleep at about 5:36 and I wake up at about 9:30-10.
Awesome. Yeah. So, watching a TED Talk or talking to an old colleague?
Watching a TED Talk.
Weekend spent staying in or partying out?
Partying out, any day.
So, stressing about the future or taking a chill pill and letting things happen?
Not taking a chill pill for sure, but not stressing as well, but being worried, of course. I think panic is not good, but having the right level of stress is really, really important in life. If you're not stressful about the next day, I think something is really amiss. You're not playing it right.
Awesome. So, coffee or chai?
I have like 7 to 8 cups of coffee every single day in my life. Yeah.
Okay. And the last one, books or podcasts?
Books.
Awesome. Now, I would
I'm finishing this book right now, if you can see it. It's a book by the same Draper guys. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay.
It's called The Startup Hero.
Awesome. I am sure the people who are interested in entrepreneurship will take that cue and read the book. Now, for the second part of the session, I would like to hand the control over to Aman. But before that, I would like to discuss the most important things that we would want to know about. First of all, how did the Prime Minister's Champions of Change thing happen? What actually you contributed to it and how it benefited you in return?
How it happened, I think I was out there. I think what I've always done is I've worked with the government in the past in some capacity before ISB. And I think what I really would encourage all of you, again, something, if some of you would want to walk away with this, I would really encourage you to put out your thoughts, write blogs, write articles, tweet out, put Facebook posts. I think what it does is it puts you on the radar of people who are in your network, whether it is as a LinkedIn connect, whether it is a Facebook friend, whether it is somebody who follows you on Twitter. And then when an opportunity comes through, they think of you. A lot of people often reach out to me and say that, hey, you know what, like how come Leverage was quoted in the Economic Times article, and how come you guys were there on BBC, and how come you guys were there on Doordarshan and whatnot. I think the only logic that I've been able to make out of it is I've had most of these people reach out to me through my social media. Like you reached out to me through my Instagram, right?
Yeah.
I was there on Rajya Sabha TV yesterday. The guy reached out to me on my LinkedIn. I had somebody reach out to me for an article in Economics Times this Monday on my Facebook Messenger. Business Insider again last Thursday, Facebook Messenger. So I think what really helps is if you're out there, if you keep pushing out your views, if you keep saying that, hey, this is what my stand is in my industry, it helps people understand that you are a thought leader in that space. Of course, what's very important is that you read enough and you understand your space really well enough to be able to comment, to be able to say something which is of value to others. Only then will they think of you in the right light. But I think that's what happened. I was doing that for a very long time in my life, as long as I can imagine, when I was in school. And I think a couple of people would have noticed and they said, hey, you know what, it happened when I was first, when the month in which I started the company, I was invited for a dinner by Smriti Irani ji, who's a minister in the cabinet today. And that was followed by this invite from Niti Aayog.
Okay.
And then how it benefited me, I think what I did there, of course, we sat for a couple of days. We had multiple sessions in the coming months as well. We debated a lot on how higher education should look like. How it has helped me is that it has helped me build my own thesis about what universities would look like, I have a very strong thesis on that. Universities will get unbundled in the next 5, 7, 10 years. ISB will not follow the same style that it is following today. Probably you are one of the last few classes to be taught this way. I think there are different pieces to a university life. There is academics, there is the networking piece, there is all the piece around extracurriculars, there's a piece around relationship that you build with professors who come from all around the world. And there's this final piece about credentials. So I think all of the pieces are going to get unbundled, and for those who only want the academics, they can probably pay for it a much cheaper price and just be done with it. Somebody who's looking for a credential, they can essentially do a short version of that as well. For somebody who's looking to do the whole package, be at the campus, they can still continue to choose the current program structure. But I think a lot more things are going to happen. Online education is not Zoom classes or Skype classes or that is for webinars like this, right? That is not online education. Online education also needs to be built ground up. That has helped. So all of those things that we discussed back in 2017-18, I think I'm writing a lot about that these days for a lot of journals or on my blog, and they get picked up. And that has helped me in turn build my own thesis around higher education and share that thesis, share that thought process with the prospective investors, with employees, and that really helps us push the company forward. That gives people more belief that Leverage Edu is headed in the right direction, and they will be able to do the right things as the whole paradigm, the whole industry changes.
Okay. Now, thank you for that. Now,
long convoluted answer, yeah.
But obviously, I mean, that is what we're here for, right? All your gyan and all your wisdom. Now, I think the shiniest feather in your hat is the Forbes 30 under 30 list. So how did you actually get recognized for it? And how did Forbes 30 under 30 become Forbes 30 under 30 Asia, from India to Asia? How did that happen?
Okay. So I'll be very honest, I have no idea at all. For India, I think I got to know about it when somebody from the magazine called me and told me that, hey, you know what, do you have time on Thursday? I said, yes, for what? I said, yeah. He said, you know what, like, we need to do a photo shoot. Like, but for what? Like, you know what, I'm in Bombay. I can't be coming on a Thursday. And he said, hey, you know what, like, did somebody not tell you that you've been selected for this? And that's how I got to know. I had no idea whatsoever. That's for the India list. And the India list and the Asia list are a bit different. In fact, the India list is tougher to get to than the Asia list. The Asia list happened when I think a journalist reached out to me from Forbes Asia and asked me to fill up a form and said, hey, can you fill up this form? One of your investors has recommended you. Till date, I don't know who recommended me, but somebody did. And I filled up that form and it happened. What it does is that I think I think of it as an honor for the company, and the honor does not belong to me alone. It belongs to all the 80 people who work at Leverage Edu, most of them shareholders who have ESOP in the company, who will make wealth when we are successful as a company. And every single time a brand which is much younger in its journey gets to associate with a brand which is slightly leveled up, a brand which is far more recognized, a brand which has more mental recall in the society, it helps the younger brand. So I think any of these things, be it Forbes, be it being published in a lot of these dailies, be it any media attention, be it being backed by some marquee investors, be it the Champions of Change Prime Minister thing that he spoke about, I think all of those things help the company move one leg up in terms of being recognized and in terms of building its own brand. And that brand then helps us, of course, I can have a mathematical explanation also with this, but I'll spare you the horror at the moment. But when you build a brand for a company, it helps you, one, build more credibility with prospective consumers, with prospective students in our case. And second is, it also helps you spend less on marketing, which is what every company wants to do in the longer run. Spend as less as possible on marketing and have as many users come to your door looking at your brand. Looking at what you are, what are people speaking about you without you paying for it, without any ad per se. And I think that's how some of the most beautiful brands in this world have been built. I'm personally a fan of Nike, and yeah. Anyway, that's a short answer for what you asked.
Awesome, and congratulations. I think you deserve it all and more.
Thanks,
and now I'll hand over to Aman, who is going to ask the audience questions that we collected over the past couple of days.
Interesting. Hi, Aman. There are two Amans in our team as well. One is my co-founder, and another is a magician who builds design for us. Yes.
Yeah, awesome. That guy.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
Hi Akshay and hi everyone. This is Aman. So Ayushi and I do have a list of questions which includes submissions from our from the rest of the class of 2021. And before we start with the questions, I want to announce that if anyone has some questions that you want Akshay to address, you could write them in personal chat to Ayushi, and then she would be able to manage and ask those questions to Akshay. So let's start with the first one. So Akshay, your email signature is more impressive than the resumes of a lot of the cohort put together, and you have had one achievement after another. So what keeps you going strong today?
Dude, that's a I don't know how to answer that. But I think the signature is just like I said, it's we are still a young startup. We still reach out to a lot of people who can choose to either reply or not reply to us, who can choose to ignore. And I think the email signature helps. The fact that a bunch of us are, for example, my chief business officer Gaurav comes from NCERT. His email signature is very awesome as well. Our chief operating officer Digvijay, he comes with 5 years in McKinsey. He has a very impressive background as well. So I think I will just say that it helps all of us who are leading the company to be able to reach out to the right people in the ecosystem and be able to become the company that we want to. I think that's about it. We don't see it in any other way. It's not meant to be seen in any other way. It's all focused on the growth of the company, and that is it.
Thanks, Akshay. So do the people who do well in startups have something different in them as compared to those who are more suited for a regular corporate job where the flows are defined?
Sure. So I think so this is one of the values that we have at Leverage Edu. We call people who want to work at Leverage Edu entrepreneur professionals. Everybody got to behave like an entrepreneur, and everybody got to play like that. And what that means is that you need to have an extreme ownership mindset. What does not work in a startup is talking about a problem and not thinking about a solution. I think everybody in a startup is required to one, think about solutions, and two, take absolute ownership about everything that they're doing. It could be something as simple as making a call and writing a few emails. It could be something as big as managing a budget of 1.5 CR over a couple of days, or meeting a very, very important client who could be across 7 Cs. So a lot of exposure comes very early to people who work in startups. At Leverage Edu, we have had people who would have finished their undergrad and then done things that I did 3 years after ISB, or a lot of people would do 10 years after ISB. So I think exposure comes very early, and because of that exposure, what also is needed is a lot of responsibility. It's similar to that Superman quote, but extreme ownership is really, really important. And if you think that you can demonstrate extreme ownership, if you think that you can slog it out really hard for a couple of years in your life, startups are an experience like none other, and they go out and make you what you really want to be in life. And I say this not as an entrepreneur at Leverage. I say this also as a senior exec in my previous roles, and I think those roles have taught me a lot in terms of how you should play out at a startup.
Thanks, Akshay, for the insight. So, keeping in mind the
bunch of questions coming in on chat box. I hope you're taking care of them. I've not been able to see some.
Yeah, we'll capture them. Thanks. Starting off from the stats paper experience that you showed, that you shared, the 5-mark stats paper. So, what is one underrated and one overrated thing about the MBA experience?
Wow, good one. I think underrated. underrated thing is that people don't realize that. I think I'll say the same thing I said in the beginning. Everybody who's on this call right now, whatever X number of people are, everybody is going to be doing really cool things in their life. Don't underestimate your peers. Don't discount them. That is something I would really recommend you to do. Make sure that once you're on campus, you do those parties. You do spend those nights drinking away. You do organize a bunch of parties for as many people as you can. People underestimate the possibilities of building really deep networks over informal relationships. I think what is overestimated is the brand. The world is not going to open up for you and make sure that there are petals flowering over your head as soon as you graduate. Yes, you will have an edge for the first few months or maybe for the first year, given that you're an ISB alum. But after that, it does not really matter too much. For somebody who has worked really hard and does not have an MBA and who's an absolute performer, they might as well get ahead of ISB alums like this, right? So don't wear the degree very heavily on your shoulders, and remember that even when you have it, you'll still have to kind of prove your mettle out. At best, it is going to give you a leg up by a few years, by a few months in some time, in some careers, not in startups for sure. But yes, just remember that you'll still have to go out and perform. And if you don't perform, it can easily hurt other people who have the brand name as well. So don't wear the ISB brand name too strongly on your chest. Have it there for the right reasons. The nostalgia and everything that gives you, teaches you, the acads, the networks. But don't be married to the brand name. Make your own brand name. Make sure you build your own journey.
Thanks, Akshay. Okay. So like for all of us, class of 21 are going to join ISB because it has been a career-defining stepping stone in the case of a lot of alums, just like yourself. So if we take the puzzle piece called ISB out of your life, how would life have been today?
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much would have been doing the same thing that I'm doing today. Nothing different. Still would have been, definitely would have started up and running a company. Of course, the first year would have been tougher. I have a lot of fellow founders now who have been funded by my existing VCs, and 90% of them don't have MBAs. Some of the best founders, in fact, have not even done a graduation, and I think does not matter really. I think, of course, it gives you a leg up. I'll say the same thing that I've been saying all throughout. It gives you a head start, but nothing more than that. I wouldn't have been doing anything different. But yes, with ISB, it really gave me a lot of confidence. It gave me a lot of support network. It helped me hire a lot of people in the beginning. People would come and work with me because I was an ISB alum, not because they knew me, not because they knew what the company was doing. And we were also figuring out what we really wanted to do. As you know, startups really pivot a lot in their early years. And yes, it would have been a tougher journey, but not very significantly different.
Okay. Thanks. Do you think reading books and listening to podcasts on entrepreneurship helps people develop the right mindset? And if yes,
100%.
Could you suggest some?
100% does. 100% does. I used to read a lot of books back in the day. In fact, I've read more books in ISB than the course material. So I really heavily recommend books, and I'm a big podcast fan as well. So I really hope you guys read as many books as you can during the ISB year as well, and focus on your learning and focus on what you're taking away than just focusing on a stupid number. And what was the other part of the question? You asked me to recommend some?
Yeah. I asked for some recommendations for someone who is not in a habit of reading books.
So let me recommend. I'm just opening up my phone, and some of the podcasts that I really like is one called Masters of Scale. Second is called, you should listen to this one called Outliers, run by an Indian journalist. Then if some of you don't follow Naval Ravikant already, I'm sure a lot of you would. You should listen to all podcasts by Naval. It helps you clear out your thought structures. Then there is Grey Matter, and then there is one called The Knowledge Project with Shane Parrish. And for those of you who have been in the startup circles for a bit, I would really recommend Origins by Notation. Yes. And there's another one called two of my favorites outside the startup world are the Tim Ferriss Show and the Joe Rogan Experience. In fact, if you want to really have a great Sunday, you should put the Joe Rogan Experience with Naval Ravikant on YouTube and kind of hear it off for the next 1.5 hours after this call. It's really amazing. You should do anything and everything that helps you open up your mind and look at things in a very different way. Nothing is going to be more important in this year than building the right mental models with which you want to live life.
Thank you, actually. So since you've been reading a lot and being and listening to a lot of podcasts, you would have a lot of quotes in your mind. So if you could get a tattoo of one of the quote that has remained with you for a long time, what would it be?
No, I won't get a tattoo, man. I'm scared of tattoos. But I have this quote. Let me search for it. It's by Teddy Roosevelt, who was one of the presidents. And we have this, in fact, on an office wall, on a big office wall. I'm happy to read it to you, and possibly some of you can take a look at it post this call. And it's all about doing. And I think it's about the same thing that I've been sharing on this call right throughout. Be a doer in life. It says, it is not the critic that counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or whether the diet of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end, listen to this part, the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. So I think that's been my one of favorite things to say in life to anybody and everybody, that be a doer. A lot of people are going to be there who are going to try and put you down, who are going to try and tell you that, hey, this will not work, that will not work, this is not the right way, who will laugh at you, who will say that something like this is not possible. As long as you have your thought process intact, and of course that does not mean that you don't take feedback. Of course you should take feedback from people who mean well, but use that feedback, learn as much as you can from folks who are around you, but just kind of be in the arena, like be the person who does things, like be the person who executes, be the person who's the hero or heroine of the story. Don't be the person on the fence. I think that's very important. If you can be the hero, if you can be in the arena, nothing else really matters. That's the thrill of life.
Thanks, Akshay.
Right?
Yeah. So a lot of people do show interest in joining startups where they have more responsibilities than traditional corporate roles. So what advice do you have for someone who wants to join, let's say, Leverage or some other startup that is growing at a similar pace?
Sure. If I was to join a startup today, I would, I think the best piece about living in this world is that everybody is accessible. You will have everybody on Twitter or on Instagram, or you might even get their email. I would, if I were to join a startup, I would go on that company's website. I would look at their app. I would speak to a few of the consumers. I will try and see, and by the function of it being a startup, whether it be a Paytm or whether it be a Leverage or whether it be a company which is starting out today, every company will have something which is not proper, something which is going wrong, something which can be solved in a far superior fashion. And I would pick up that problem and I would write a long email. I would figure out a solution and say, hey, you know what, founder XYZ, you know what, this is something that I observed. I've been working on this for the last 15 days and this is how I solved it. And I really think of this to be of great value to you in the company. And if the company is at A today, your company will be able to get to B. And I would love a feedback like this. I've had a bunch of people who have done something similar to this on the product side, on the content side, on the business side. And if you can really solve a problem for somebody, you've got their attention bang on. And I'm sure everybody's accessible. Like anybody and everybody you can write to is accessible.
Thanks, Akshay. So I do have one final question, after which we'll start addressing the live questions that we got on the chat.
Sure.
So what were the gaps that you identified in the education industry, and what are some solutions that Leverage is building to address these gaps? And what are some gaps that are still currently there because it doesn't take a day to solve them?
Sure, yeah. So like I told you earlier on the call, and we said that, hey, can everybody have access to a mentor? And we used to use basic data functions. Now we use AI to match a mentee to a mentor. And we said that, hey, if a mentee is going to work with a mentor who's like them, for example, if I am from a Bombay, I get to work with somebody who's also going to the same school, same city, EPL to EPL, Sufi to Sufi. And I'm working with somebody who I really aspire to be like. Mentor will take far more interest in making sure that I'm successful. And at the same point of time, this mentor will also take far more, and they can feel that, hey, you know what, I was like this person 5 years, 7 years back in the day, and I really want to be invested in this person's success. Everybody wants to give back. So that's the basic thought with which we started Leverage, and we started with 3 categories: career guidance, university admissions, and getting ready for the first job. And over time, we realized that university admissions was a big category because what happens is when you go to a business school as cool as ISB, you don't see the industry as is. If you don't essentially the space, like I told you for admissions. And what I realized by looking at that area across the entire year was that only about 5 to 7% people actually aim for the top 100 universities. The remaining 93% people are folks who are looking to get to the university which ranks 101 all the way to rank 10,000. What about those guys? Do those guys not have the ability to dream? Can they not do something that really is their innate talent? And that's what we started to do. So today we have 2 brands. One is Leverage Edu, the mainstream brand, of course, and one is UniValley. With Leverage Edu, of course, we help students who want to go to the top 100 universities. They work with we have 2,000 plus mentors. So a lot of you platform, and I can make on an average, a mentor makes about 25 fees a month on a platform advising students. And on the other side, what that means is students also want to do things which are non-mainstream. They want to do culinary arts, they want to do luxury fashion management, they want to do digital art, they want to do music, they want to do dance, they want to do religious studies, and so on and so forth. They want to do a course in winemaking. And for all of these guys, we try to find out what's the right career interest and what's the right university that they can get to. And then we work with the universities as well as with the students to make sure that they're in the right place. And another category is of students who are looking to use education as a route to immigrate abroad. So you're all MBA students, and if some of you have looked at balance of payments. So balance of payments for any country, whether you look at some of the European countries, whether you look at India or the US, so students who come into your geography to study and to add to your knowledge economy, they really contribute a lot to what your standing is as an economy. And I think that is what we realized, that hey, why don't we look at this big problem set as well? And over time, we have we've defined ourselves more as a student mobility company or a talent mobility company in some way, where we help a really wide set of students get to their dreams. It could be still a bunch of people who go to Wharton, Stanford, people went to INSEAD. I hope there are some people who use Leverage as a platform who are on this call. And for businesses, folks who are not as academically inclined, but they're still very talented. and they still want to do these courses which are not very well suited in the domestic ecosystem. Plus, we also do India-to-India admissions in programs like NUSB, which is a new ISB, which is coming out in Gurgaon. You should check this out. It's called Masters Union School, or schools like Pearl Academy of Fashion, or Bennett University, and also schools like SP Jain, Loyola, VIT, so on and so forth. Yes.
Thank you, Akshay. So I do have one more question from the chat. We got this from the chat, and it says that how will companies benefit from the unbundled MBA programs?
How will companies benefit?
Yeah, how do companies benefit?
Yeah, companies will benefit by way of a very streamlined candidate who will get to their doors in a very short time. For example, we have hired a lot of people on the basis of their Coursera degrees, on the basis of their program that they would have done with grad. That said, you have to realize that the larger problem that faces the society at large today is credentials. And when you have a credential, it puts you ahead of the race right away. I have personally, and this is something I was discussing with Digvijay 2 weeks back when we were hiring few people, it's very difficult to find, and I say this with a lot of respect to a lot of people, it's very difficult to find a lot of people who are absolutely smart and who can do their job impeccably well if they don't have the right pedigree. So of course I can do that. Of course there will be enough people who don't have the right brand name behind themselves, but it will be far more difficult. If I am trying to solve a problem in a shorter period of time, if I'm trying to get ahead of a competitor in like a few weeks and a few months, if I'm trying to build a company which is bigger than anything that anybody can imagine in a few years versus a few decades, then I need to get the right people into the company at a very fast pace and build the right environment for them. Credentials helps there. If I know that somebody is going to ISB, I know that, okay, they would have done this XYZ. If I know that somebody has gone to IMA, somebody has gone to SADE, somebody has gone to a school in the US which is very good in finance, somebody has gone to a school in Australia which is very good in sports, and I'm looking for a sports coach on my team, somebody who's done culinary arts really well, and I want an expert who teaches culinary arts to people. Of course, I'm going to go out and hire those people, and that is going to help the company quicken its journey, quicken its growth by a huge margin. And I think that credentials piece is not going anywhere, and that's why higher education will remain relevant. Of course, there will be some people who will take the way out, look at, can I just do the CATs? You have PGP Pro, right? Can I just focus on the ISB brand name? But of course, all of it will have its own standing in the order, and people will choose basis what they think holds the highest credential.
Thanks, Akshay, for addressing so much of what we wanted you to. For the last part of our session, I would like to continue from here.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Aman. Now, I have a question from the audience. They want to know what is your advice for budding entrepreneurs, and how the people who actually dream of having their own venture but have an education loan situation, how can they actually keep up?
Sure, I think the best way to look at it is, given all of you are ISB students right now on this call, the best way to start your business right away, to do something which is which can get the help of the ISB ecosystem around you. You have a lot of people to test out your product. You have a lot of people to understand what could go right, what could go wrong in terms of the professors that you had access to. You have access to a lot of literature out there. You have access to a lot of research. I think there's not been a better place to start businesses than the business school. Plus also, you could look at a lot of problems that students face. And if you look at some of the best problems that have been solved over time, they've been solved with having students as a target base. Be it Apple, where Steve Jobs first launched the new personal computer to school students, to students in business school and then in high school. Be it Facebook, which launched in colleges and then went to high school, or Chota Mu Badi Baat, be it Leverage. So I think it's a great place for you to be at right now. And if there is a lot of access to capital, there are a lot of ISB alums who are there on the funders side. And if you have the right idea, you can even kind of raise some money for yourself very early on. But before that, I would encourage you to focus a lot on the problem that you're solving, and make sure enough people try it out, and make sure somebody can pay you even a dime for the service that you're providing. I think I'll just close out this by saying that I think sometimes we get into the glamour of entrepreneurship, and I think that's the worst thing to do. You realize that post the first 15 days, the glamour kind of goes outside the window. It's like a dukan. You are doing shutter up, shutter down, and if you really, if you are okay with taking a less salary for yourself for the next 5 years than your peers, if you're okay with it hurting your relationships to some degree because you won't be able to take out time, if you're okay with being abused by a lot of people who will hate your idea, if you're okay with being put down by, if you're disrupting any space, of course, the guys who have been in the space for far more than before you, they will come down and take you in every possible way, be it in media, be it in terms of legal action, be it in terms of poaching. So a lot of things will happen. So if you really are sure about this, only then should you go on and become an entrepreneur, because it's not an easy ride, and a lot of things that we think really happen in entrepreneurship don't happen, but a lot of the tough things that we don't expect, they happen. And there's a word, I don't know if it's fit to say on this call, but let me say it anyway. So it's more to have guda. So I think make sure that you're going out with as many cuts as possible when you're trying out something new. It will take all of that and more.
Awesome. So it was great hearing from you, Akshay. I think a lot of people here are pumped to actually get on with their ISB course now. Before we end the session, some general wisdom you might have for us, for ISB, for our professional careers and life in general.
No, I think you're already in the right place. I will just end with saying something which should be useful to you in the coming days, and a repetition of the same thing that I started with. You have access to a lot of things right now. Don't underestimate it in any possible way. There could be somebody who has already done what you want to do. Somebody could teach you how to build a financial model. Somebody could teach you how to think like consultants do. Somebody could tell you how FMCG companies work. You have access to the best professors in the world. I think ISB is very lucky in that way. We have the best professors from all across the world come and teach. You have access to a lot of resources. You have access to a lot of thinking that is out there. If you just kind of log on to the LRC database, make use of all of those things. One of my biggest regrets, I remember a morning before I left ISB, was that, fuck, I wish I had spent more time in LRC. I wish I had used more resources that were there at ISB. I also sometimes regretted that I did not pay as much attention in the classroom as I should have towards the beginning of the year, which I did towards the latter part of the year, because I think those pieces, you can't relive those pieces, and you're also paying a lot to, by the way, focus on those pieces. So I think the right balance, network the hell out of this year, party the hell out of this year, make sure you build a lot of friends. At the same time, make sure that you are learning. You're learning inside the classroom, you're learning outside the classroom. You are making a lot of friends. I still, my ISB friends are like still folks I call up whenever something is going wrong in my life, and we go out for a drink. I'm working with so many of my ISB friends even today, and I think pretty much without ISB, life would have been very different. So I would really encourage you to do all of those pieces in the right matra, and make this the best year of your lives. And if there is anything I can help you on, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm accessible largely. And feel free to reach out, feel free to tweet at me, feel free to post at me, here to help. Cool. Cool. There are a bunch of questions, but do you want me to answer some of these questions, or?
Ayushi, Aman, can you guys hear Akshay?
Yeah, just a second. I think Ayushi might have.
Am I audible now? Am I audible?
Yes, very much audible.
Sorry. So what I'd like to say is, if you're comfortable, we can answer the questions right now.
Okay, so let me try and answer whatever I can on the chat very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So I think, how do you choose your co-founders? I think we have a very solid management team who I would call all my co-founders today. And they're all people who are as madly in love with the problem as I am. advice budding entrepreneurs. Okay, I answered this. I think what we did very early on that we used to party a lot, man. Like I think that's what we used to do here. Every single month at times we used to party. We used to throw a big party. We haven't done those parties in a long time now. And I think the more fun it is, you saw one of that video that we played out in the beginning. So we did a lot of fun things very early on. And I think that makes everybody feel as if it's a family. Of course, some of those things you are not able to retain as you move forward and structures come in and a lot of more serious work has to be done. But we try and make it fun whenever we can. What keeps me awake at night? I think it's largely just executing, man. The current COVID VC funding environment, but I think the right investors are those who are saying that I can get into the right company at the right price. The idea is to, we got lucky. We got really lucky because we raised around in January first week. So we are well capitalized for the next 2 to 3 years. But yes, even if I was not in that position, I would have focused on investors who are carrying their activities at the moment. What are some mental models you've developed as an entrepreneur? As an entrepreneur, how do you build and manage these relationships? Okay, longer answer. I'll redirect you to my blog. Just log on to akshaychaturvedi.com or my Twitter or tweet at me and I'll answer. What do you feel about overall education system currently going on in India? I think it's changing. I was on a call a couple of weeks back with the director at CBSE and one of the chairmen at AICTE. And what we are seeing is curriculums are being revised. We are seeing more focus on execution coming through in curriculums. We are seeing more practical pieces come in. In fact, that's why I love the study abroad piece. A lot of universities who we very closely work with, they have things like placement year. What that means is you possibly do a 1-year course and then 1 year you work with some of the best companies that are out there. For example, I'm trying to recall this university, I can't right now. Okay, I can't remember the name, but one of these universities had a mandatory 1-year internship with ARM, which is one of the most amazing companies funded by SoftBank in the UK. So I think things like these will open up in India as well. We are very excited to be leading that change. We help a lot of people from neighboring countries, Africa, to come into India and study in Indian education institutes as well. So we're very excited about what is happening in India. Prime Minister Modi has said that he is targeting 250,000 people to come in and study in India. And I hope we are at 50,000. I hope we'll get there very soon. Some of the books I read in college to expand my understanding of the internet space. So I think I will start with, I love part fact, part fiction. So I would start with Shoe Dog, which is the autobiography of Phil Knight, who was the founder of Nike. I would start with that. And I read Hooked. I am right now, in fact, let me take a second and tell you about some books. I would also, I love Rework. I love The Founder's Mentality. There's a book called Void. There's a book called Measure What Matters. There's a book called Zoom. There's this beautiful book, short book, very easy to read book called Tribe of Mentors. This book called Mindfulness. And of course, the Steve Jobs biography called Becoming Steve Jobs. How will companies value the unbundled MBA program? Which podcast would you suggest? Oh wow. How do you think we can improve the clean tech space in ISB? I will write to me. I will put you in touch with a couple of professors who are really interested in this space. Every time I level up, the family levels up. Yeah, that's right for all us middle class people. It's Akshay, not Akshat, man. Okay, mental models. Yeah, I kept changing many background images. So I think I answered some of these. Some of these I can't answer because they're long, and I'm happy to take these. You mentioned networking as a big aspect. How do you maintain your networks and generally connect? So I think my advice on that is help. Help as many people who come your way as you can. A lot more people need your help right now. A lot of people want to get to ISB. Can you help some of them? A lot of people want to understand your space really well as well. Can you help all of them? And I think I'm a big believer of karma. And as you help more people, as you be out there, and as a practice of that, you also start to ask for help far more. you realize that out of 10 people you will ask help to, 2 will be generous and who will essentially go out and have a long conversation with you, and with one of them you will end up building a great relationship. So might as well do it. Welcome guys. Yeah, I love all the questions around mental model, just that it's a slightly longer question to answer. Happy to take it on email, or happy to kind of do a separate chat if you want in the coming weekend. How will startups be affected by COVID in terms of placements? Yeah, I think you guys are really lucky. I think you can try out a lot of new things. I would encourage a lot of you to be revisiting problems that can't be cracked open in this time. And you will be graduating hopefully in an economy which is slightly more stable than how things are right now. So get ready for it. My view also is that this is a V-shaped curve of recovery. We've already seen the curve flatten out in US, in large parts of Europe, and the same thing will happen in India also in the coming months. And I think the governments are far more ready with the different similar packages, with the right enforcement measures this time versus what they did in 2008 or 2000 or back in the day in 1918s and 1980s. So I think be optimistic and make sure if you are looking at a company, again, going back to something I said in the beginning, if you're really concerned about placements, as you should be, if you're really concerned about what you want to do post ISB, don't be spread all across. Figure out those 5 companies that you want to work with, write to them, start solving problems with them, start getting in touch with people, start having these Zoom calls with them. When things become better, take that flight out and have coffee with them, have a beer with them, and make sure you work really hard to be the first person in the queue when the gate opens up. The gate will open up someday. It's not going to remain closed forever. But what is going to be very important is that people who work really hard will be at the front of the queue and will not be joining the queue towards the end of this year. So be at the front of the queue. Okay, lot more questions. I'll take. Okay, hi Vidisha. Oh, great to have you on this call. Glad that you interned. Fail to look at small efforts on a daily level. Yeah, that's right. How to take a good relationship with a senior professional to a mentor-mentee relationship without sabotaging it? I think anybody who sabotages being a mentor will be very foolish. I'll just say that go out and reach out to people. Of course, respect the fact that they could be busy and they could not be responding to you right away, not because they're arrogant, but because they're really busy in their lives. So be cognizant of that and reach out to as many people as you can. What are 3 buzz areas in startup culture? Only working hard. This is AI, sustainability, all of this is bullshit. You can pick up any space and you can just work hard. Lowest point as an entrepreneur, there's one every week. Yeah, but the good part is that there are 6 awesome days. I think that's what we focus on. Okay, this is the last one I'll take. Work-life balance. And I'll close the chat box on that note. So I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in something called work-life integration. Your work integrates into your life and your life integrates into your work, and it's all one. You can be working really hard and you can take a 2-day holiday in between and go to Goa, as I do. You can be having a very heavy day and you can just like take an hour out and spend time with your parents. You can just call them up, or your spouse, or your boyfriend/girlfriend, or some of your friends, and just take a chill pill and like make sure that integration comes in, and then you could possibly put in those hours at the end of the day as well. As long as you're being fair to your work, as long as you have that extreme ownership mindset, as long as you stand by the values that set the right work ethic, I don't think anybody's counting the hours. So integrate your work into your life and your life into your work, and I think that is reasonably well enough, good enough for life. Cool. On that note, I'll go back to doing what I've been telling you to do, go back to executing, and look forward to hearing from some of you, seeing some of you when I visit campus in the coming months, hopefully, as we get past this crisis. And feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, Akshay001. My email address is akshay@leverageedu.com. You can find me on Instagram, Akshay Chaturvedi, and happy to answer any queries that I can, happy to be of help. If I'm not able to respond, just be patient and remember that I have a company to run as well. And yes, You guys have a very great year ahead of yourselves. Make sure you do the best and make sure you make the most of it.
Thank you so much, Akshay. Thank you for keeping the hustle on and inspiring us to do so. I'll thank everyone who's taken time out of their schedule for attending, and I hope we can have many such great sessions with you in person.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Catch you. Bye. See you guys. Have a fun Sunday evening.